welcome everyone to the first seminar of the semester. My name is Savannah DeVoe. I'm a PhD candidate in ocean engineering.
I'm Daniel. I'm a master's student at Earth Science Social Mapping.
And we are your seminar coordinators for this year. So this first seminar will just be an introductory seminar by Martin Wosnik and other faculty members in the program. If you're here for the OE 990 seminar class, please fill out each week, every Friday. There will be an attendance sheet over here on the corner of the desk. Please fill it out either when you come in or after you leave, maybe not during.
Thank you, Savannah. All right, welcome to the new semester. I know that everybody's very excited. Some of us can't believe it's already September, but here we are, fall semester. So this is our long-standing Friday afternoon seminar. You will see a broad range of topics. They typically sort of vacillate between something more ocean mapping focused and something more ocean engineering, ocean energy focused. Some of you are taking this for credit. We give you credit for 1 year for this. That's mandatory. What we're really doing is we're training you to show up every Friday at 3 p.m. It's muscle memory. Just walk here, get cookies, coffee, sit down, listen. The grad student organizers this year, as you just saw, are Savannah DeVoe and Danielle Leite. So thank you very much for doing this important service. And as we go through this, you will see some photos of stuff that has to do with what we do here. So I'm the current director of the Center for Ocean Engineering. I'm also professor of mechanical and ocean engineering. And the ocean engineering grad program has, I think, somewhere on the order of close to 40 students now. And they are more or less evenly divided. I don't quite know, but I think they're still evenly divided between the ocean engineering side and the coastal and ocean mapping side. So Brian is here representing CCOM. You want to maybe say a quick word of welcome? Or?
Yeah, normally Mary Mayer would be here to do that. When very early on in our tenure here, a known admiral came to visit the centre. Larry wasn't here, so I was being the pseudo Larry for the day. And he came in and he said, what's the difference between Larry Mayer and God? And I won't tell you what I told him, because he seemed to find it quite shocking, but what he said was, God is everywhere and Larry is everywhere except at CCOM. So Larry is currently in Egypt, mapping archaeological remains in Alexandria. So he can't be here, otherwise he'd do it himself. So I'm Brian Calder. I'm a research professor in the Centre for Coastal and Ocean Mapping over on that end of the building there. I've been here since January of 2000, which makes me a plank holder. And I'm also associate director. And like Martin said, this is a very important time of the afternoon for us, time of the week for us. It gives everybody a chance to get together and work out what happened this week and therefore what we want to do for next week to move ourselves ahead. You get free coffee, and if you're here for your first year, you also get credit for it. So it's just basically worthwhile showing up just for that piece alone. But it's also a good opportunity for you to talk to your colleagues. I can't get that to work. Have you thought about this? Which is a much more valuable thing than just showing up for the coffee. So we strongly encourage you to all show up for this. You'll see some really interesting talks over the coming weeks. It's worthwhile showing up for them too.
Thank you, Brian.
Before you move on, also Ocean Discovery Day coming up soon. If you haven't been to Ocean Discovery Day, this is your chance to have approximately 3,000 K-12 students come through the building over the course of 2 days. On Friday, we'll have all of the students come through from school groups and various other homeschooling groups and other organizations. Saturday is public day, typically. It's a lot of fun. You will be asked more interesting and more varied questions by the K-12 students than you will ever be asked during your thesis defense, I guarantee it. And they are often a huge amount of fun. So if you haven't been involved in it before, I really encourage you to be involved. Tara Hicks-Johnson is our point of contact. Tara's in here yet. If you haven't met her, you don't no doubt will. When the emails come out looking for volunteers, sign up. It's worthwhile doing it. It's often a blast. And we haven't done it for 3 years because of the pandemic. This is our first chance to be back in public, back in person rather, and it's going to be a blast this year.
Thanks, Brian. You will all get tapped to volunteer for this Ocean Discovery Day, so you'll hear about it. I just realized I'm just on the agenda. We may actually have a slide where we go through jumping ahead. So you'll also hear from John Ahern a few slides down, and then at the end, the second half, we'll have lightning presentations, one slide per faculty, just telling us who they are and what they're working on. Let's get through it. So who's in this building? We have a number of different centers. The Center for Ocean Engineering and the building were built in, was founded and the building was built in 1995. The Center for Ocean Engineering runs the grad programs and also manages the actual lab operation. We then have the CCOM and JHC, who started in 1999. The Center for Ocean Renewable Energy started in 2008, core. The Center for Acoustics Research and Education started in 2019. The Atlantic Marine Energy Center started in 2021. I have stars here because that operation got pretty much absorbed into that. And then we started the Center for Sustainable Seafood Systems in 2022. So not all have logos, but you see some of the logos on the right. So all these centers and operations are in this building. From a grad program perspective, we have a Master of Engineering, a Master of Science, and a PhD in Ocean Engineering. Also a Master of Science in Ocean Engineering with an ocean mapping option, and graduate certificates in ocean bathymetry, which is the JEPCO program, which has 6 students here, and also in underwater acoustics. You find all the requirements here or in the respective sites. The Ocean Engineering program, as I said, I'm the current director. David Fredrickson and where's Dave? Right here. We're co-grad coordinators. Tom Lippman is the undergrad coordinator, and Jane Miller is our administrative assistant. You may have noticed that Tom's hair has migrated from the front to the back. That just happened recently, I think. Yeah, just,
Hair?
yes. He's usually hiding it under.
The important question is it his hair?
All right, so we got a hair joke in. Yeah, I think most of us are on here. If I forgot anybody, I'm sorry. This is really ocean engineering / CCOM faculty. I should have added that. We're in the ocean engineering lab named after Jere Chase. The Chase family donated money to have this built. And I put together a little graphic that shows you why it is so hard to find your way around the building. So here's Chase Lab. That's the original lab, 1995. And you can tell by the roof color when they were built, actually. And here's CCOM-1, built in 2000 and 2003, first floor, second floor. Then there's CCOM-2, the south wing, 2008. And then there's the Ocean Engineering Lab Edition, 2017. Also more CCOM offices and the teaching lab below. And we converted this space here from a machine shop to a lecture hall. So don't feel bad if you get lost trying to find your way in the building. Also, a little secret for the new students, there's a secret path behind the lab that goes into College Woods if you want to go for a little hike. So thought that was an important piece of information to add that. All right, this is the lab. Well, facilities. We go through a range of them. We have the lab, obviously, and then we have the UNH Pier, or also called the Judd Gregg Marine Research Complex, with other buildings. We have various field sites in Great Bay Estuary. We have an open ocean test site, we have a tidal energy test site, and other marine facilities. For example, Jackson Estuarine Lab and Shoals Marine Lab in the Isles of Shoals. So we'll walk through this now. And first, I'd like to welcome up John Ahern, who is our senior mechanical engineer, who is in charge of the High Bay Laboratory. So we have some slides prepared that go through this. Is
that my instructions?
Well, that's just to prep you what's going to be coming up.
Okay, thank you. I did look at the slides.
Good.
Yeah, so I'm John Ahern. I think it was last year when my kids attended this lecture, and they still talk about it. And my 5-year-old wanted to come today. She was busy. Anyway, maybe next Friday. I think it's mostly for the cookies. But anyway, they did some good heckling last year that we still talk about. Anyway, let's see. Yes, we have a bunch of facilities. I'll just give you a quick info on my background. I did ME and then OEMS. I finished in 2003 or 2002, really, December. And then I worked on mostly research vessels for 13 years. And now I'm back. So my background has a lot of practical hands-on experience on research vessels. So, and in my role here, my only purpose is to help people. So feel free, I'm happy to share, and feel free to draw on whatever experience I have and whatever I can do to help you. So for my job, I actually did notes. That makes it more dry. Anyway, for my job, I like research projects and I like to serve as an engineer. That's sort of my primary interest, so consulting on research projects. Right now, we've wrapped up, well, we've built the 10-meter flume for Professor Mandel. We're adding a few things, so I consulted on that project. That's an example of what I like to do. But, and I do that for faculty, grad students, and undergrad. So sometimes I'll advise undergrad projects officially, sometimes it's just informal, and I'll support whatever they ask. But I do the same for grad students. So if you're in the labs or if you're going offshore or anything, there's anything I can do to help you, feel free to ask. And if I don't know, if I can't help, hopefully I'll point you to someone that can. Yeah, and what else? Oh, so the other thing I do for the department is try to keep things organized and usable. So that means I've done different things in the high bay over the years to make it more usable, sort of setting up shared use areas, keeping it ordered, and trying to coordinate different projects. So if you want to do something in a high bay, people usually come talk to me and we set them up. But I'll probably do that in a more organized way. So yeah, let's go through the slides.
All right, good. So some information on what we have.
All right. So facilities, these are all in the high bay, which is room 108, right out there. So we have the tow wave tank, the engineering tank, the EFWT, cavitation tunnel is in Martin and Dave's lab, that's 176th, and we have 10-meter flume, which we just built. And so I generally support all of these spaces. The high bay and room 184 are shared spaces, so that's where I get most involved. The smaller PI labs, I don't generally get involved with as in depth. But anyway, so for the high bay, it's a shared space. And so the idea is it's everybody's and everyone is welcome to use it with a couple sort of stipulations. So the idea is you can expand or use benches and get set up in there when you have a project. And when you're done, you contract, go back to your PI lab or wherever you might store your gear. So we try not to use it as a storage area or to have people permanently set up in there. And that's because it's then available for other people and large projects, etc. So yeah, Jane does our reservations in the tanks. There's no charge for internal people, but we do charge for external. If you need technical support or training on the tow tank, I do that. For the engineering tank, there's not that much I do in terms of technical support. However, there is a lot of acoustics work that is done in the engineering tank, so that's Carlo Lanzoni. So you would talk to him for acoustic stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I've set up these shared areas. These two cabinets are on that far wall as you walk down into the new wing. So the one on the left is fasteners, the one on the right is marine hardware. Then we've got a rack with rope and cable, and these shelves that's just a bunch of material that was kind of too nice to throw away. but doesn't belong to anyone. So it's available to anyone that might have a project. And all of this stuff is really just left over, even these fasteners. Then over here, we've got benches and some shop tools. So a drill press, the vertical bandsaw and the near field, and then there's a horizontal bandsaw on the back. I recently did these shelf units. The one that's in this picture is all aluminum and it's organized. There's one on the other side that's stainless and plastic. So all that stuff is available to everyone. There's some 80/20 in there and some longer material. There's more material outside in fasteners. And the way that we tend to look at that, or I try to look at it, is if you're doing something today in the tank, whatever, you need to build something or fabricate something, go ahead and use this stuff. Handful of bolts or whatever. But if you're on a funded project and it's a significant timeline, don't source all your material out of these cabinets because it consumes everything and it's not available to people that don't have money or they need to do something on short term or short term. So I think that's pretty much it on that one. For safety, so for the tanks, if you're on the tank apron or anything above the surface of the water surface, you have to have the PFD on. There are rescue ladders in the engineering tank in opposing corners. There's a rescue ladder in the tow tank on this end of the tank. If you want to use those tanks, we'll go over exactly where they are so you can find them in case you fall in. What else? Machine tools, yeah, so the shop tools, all the hand tools, the drills and things like that, you're all welcome to use without, getting checked out. But if you want to use the shop tools and you haven't before and you're uncomfortable, just check in with me or Mike Tuttle or someone else that knows how to use them so we can walk you through the appropriate use and some safety stuff. You always have to have safety glasses on when you're using any of the shop tools or tools in general. It's also important to do that if you're using anything that you wouldn't want to get in your eyes, like alcohol, spray paint, spray cleaners, any of that stuff. And there's plenty around. If you can't find them, let me know. Like if there's not available, I can get more. What else? Forklift. So you have to be trained on the forklift and the cranes. The forklift is a third-party training that we use. So I can't train you. So it's something we set up on a as needed basis, but you can go to an outside firm for that training if you want to do a one-off or something, but then you'd have to sort out your funding. They're typically $100 for forklift training. For the cranes, I'm certified, I have crane trainer training to train people on the cranes. And so that means just get in touch with me. We'll set up a time and I'll go through all the stuff that would be good to know for you guys using the cranes, safety stuff. That's all that's on there.
We're getting a new crane pretty soon for the tow wave tank. So something to look forward to.
Yeah, that should be a good project. We've got 2 cranes on the engineering tank and we'll have 1 on the tank.
Bottom line is, if you have any questions about what's going on in the lab, talk to me.
Yeah, so I'm kind of a catch-all position and I'm here really just to help. I don't have my own research, so feel free to get in touch.
Thanks, John. Okay, I'm going to walk you through just a few slides to show you what facilities we have. It's probably interesting to the new students and new staff. So we are about an hour north of Boston, as you know. We're at one arm of the Great Bay Tidal Estuary at the end of the Oyster River right here. So one is Chase Ocean Engineering Lab. As you walk down this way, we have a number of offshore or ocean-related test sites. There's a tidal energy test site at Memorial Bridge in downtown Portsmouth. The Judd Gregg Marine Research Complex in Pier is in Newcastle, on Newcastle Island, which is just east of Portsmouth. There are aquaculture sites just around the corner from the pier, and also a new site further down off of Rye Harbor, number 4. And then number 5 is our open ocean test site, which hasn't seen any deployments in a few years. There's some permitting issues these days. Then 6 is Shoals Marine Lab, jointly run with Cornell University, a summer teaching laboratory and research laboratory. And then 7 is Jackson Estuarine Laboratory, which is not part of ocean engineering, but part of the broader marine school enterprise. The pier shown here is a 100-meter long concrete pier. We typically have our research vessels on this side, and this is the Ferdinand Hassler, which is the Noah Swath vessel. You can see a nice overhead shot here, overview shot. These are the pier support buildings. Coastal Marine Lab is back here. We also have a little pavilion right here for some events. You see a couple of the vessels, Gulf Challenger, Gulf Surveyor, and some wave and tidal devices we're loading onto staging, internet. We're doing all of these things here. I'm just gonna move through that quick. One slide on the tidal test site. This is right under the Memorial Bridge. You can see it from Prescott Park. It's a 50-foot floating platform, 15 by 6 feet, and we're doing tidal energy research. It's just outside of the shipping channel, as you can see right here in the in sort of a spot where the ebb tides are very fast. The open ocean test site, here's some photos shown of that. It's about 1.5 miles south of White Island. You can see the White Island lighthouse in the background. It's part of the Isles of Shoals. And it's located right here. The seminars are archived by CCOM. So if you want to watch any of the previous seminars, find this page. Everything is on here. Sometimes presenters tell us that we are not allowed to record the presentation, so those are not on here. But there's a treasure trove of previous presentations. So if you find a good subject on there, and it goes way back. CCOM was responsible for reviving the seminars when it was started. So this is the reason why we're hosting this. So there's a big debt owed to CCOM to actually getting all this back rolling and getting the infrastructure up for hosting this. You can also find it on the CCOM homepage right here. It's right on there. There's also a YouTube channel hosted by the Marine School that does everything Marine School, including ocean engineering and ocean mapping videos. So go watch these if you want to see what people
By the way, if there's been video done of you, this hasn't been updated in about a year. So if you've had video where you've been featured in something, please send the email to Sally Nelson, or you can go in and see Jane and send it to Jane, and we can get it so that it includes all the work people do. And follow it so that then more people see it. Yeah.
Probably should have introduced Diane at the beginning. Diane is the director. Diane Foster is professor of mechanical and ocean engineering and the director of the Marine School. Previous director of the Center for Ocean Engineering. But Diane is the person who's trying to pull everything marine and ocean together at the beach. Moving on to OE faculty presentations. So we're going to go through this one slide, 1 minute each. Trying to get done by 4 o'clock. First up, everybody again, and then we go to Andy. Is Andy here? And I suggest you just stand up and talk about it.
I'm Andy Armstrong. I work for NOAA in the Joint Hydrographic Center in CCOM, and so my main job is looking after some of the grants that come here to UNH.
And Andy's also teaching a number of courses.
I teach a bit of some of the courses.
Thanks, Andy. Tom Ballestero, I don't believe Tom is here, but Tom works on the civil engineering, environmental engineering side of coastal restoration. He sits over in Greg Hall next door. Brian.
Yeah, as I said earlier, I'm Brian Calder. I'm a research professor in CCOM and also associate director. My background is electrical engineering, which is why I teach DSP module as part of our integrated seafloor mapping course. And Larry Mayer and I teach seafloor characterizations in the spring when we have enough people to make it worthwhile. The majority of my research is to do with fundamental ocean mapping, particularly with bathymetry and especially the data processing that goes along with that. But we also do collection of volunteer data. So this is data that would otherwise be lost. So if you're tooling around in a ship with an echo sounder going, that data you could be recording and contributing to data assembly products to make maps for the entire area. Getting that data is actually pretty hard. So we make these data loggers, which you can see in the bottom right there. They're physically about that size. And they're designed to be as cheap as we can possibly make them, so you can make as many as you like, or rather, that we can enable people to make their own. This is an open source project. And the goal is to have a project that you can clone and implant wherever you want to do it, and you can do it cheaply so that we can get as many of these out.
Thanks, Brian. Jen.
Hi, I'm a mapping ecologist. I work at the Center for Coast and Ocean Mapping and faculty there. My background is in marine biology, but I'm now using remote sensing to try to map and characterize living organisms on the seafloor.
Hi, I'm Simon Eggster. I have some research interests in benthic habitat mapping, specifically aquatic vegetation. And lately, I've been starting to look at bundle adjustments to try and map very large objects and groups very precisely. I teach a lot of the courses in the ocean mapping program, as you can see, and I'm mostly sponsored by NOAA.
Diane.
Hi, I'm Diane Foster. I'm faculty in mechanical and ocean engineering, and I'm director of the School of Marine Science and Ocean Engineering. Before I talk about myself, I want to reiterate Brian Calder. Please do think about how you can engage. For any of you that have labs, our newish faculty, think about what activities you can do. It's a really fun day and it's great to do it again. So my background is in nearshore processes and smaller scale sediment transport. I look how sand grains move, but also how things like munitions will change their positional state as the hydrodynamic forcing. The way in which we do that, my students, Melissa Mary and Savannah DeVoe, if you can both raise your hand, do that is we do that through using the engineering, the environmental flow water tunnel. We do that by building and designing new instruments. Lately, we've been looking at pressure and momentary liquefaction of the seafloor. I actually will have a position coming up in January for anybody that's interested. Thanks. Oh, and I used to teach sediment transport and still can if there's interest in it. And I oversee a first year research. So anybody that's looking for undergrad researchers, we will have a fresh crop of students that will know how to solder and be dangerous with multiprocessor. Allison Bickford is an example of one of those that went through the program.
Hi everybody, I'm Dave Fredrickson. I'm a professor of ocean engineering and mechanical engineering, and I'm also director of the Center for Sustainable Seafood Systems. Everybody got that? I'm an ocean engineer, but I work in the fields of fisheries and aquaculture. Specifically, I look at instrumentation associated with waves and currents, forces on aquaculture structures, the response of that structure with respect to tensions and loads and motions, and the instrumentation to do that type of thing. I teach Introduction to Ocean Engineering. I'm teaching a new course in the design of recirculating aquaculture systems, though I've taught a great many of ocean engineering undergraduate courses in my past. I need to plug a really interesting project that we're really gearing up on this coming fall. We're putting out about 2,000 steelhead trout, blue mussels, and sugar kelp in our integrated multi-trophic aquaculture system. The system is going to be fully instrumented with environmental and engineering sensors so we can characterize chemical, physical, and biological processes. Thanks.
Thanks, Dave. Tom.
So the important thing to notice up there is that 95% of my funding pays me to go to the beach. And that is my job. My job is beach. You guys recognize that cultural reference. It's actually in the lexicon now of ocean engineering. And so if you have any questions about that, or you want to have that job in the future, and you can stand confidently on the beach, then you can do that job. If you have other things, I do teach a few courses. I'll probably have all of you at some point. And I oversee the oceanography graduate program. And there'll be many oceanographers that you also interact with over time. Also aspire to have a similar job.
Thank you, Tom. Tom's courses are all taught on the beach, so that's it's a little rough in the winter, but you get used to it.
Independent studies, yes.
You get used to it. So. John.
Well, hi, I'm John. I'm cross-listed between earth sciences and ocean engineering, but my main focus is within CCOMs. So those of you doing the ocean mapping option, I only appear when the leaves disappear in mid-October. Semmer and I have arranged to split our courses so we go double time. And I stopped teaching about late March when the first daffodils come through. So the dark part of the New Hampshire winter, I'm afraid you're going to hear from me. But I have a bunch of students, they're both ocean engineering and earth sciences. So obviously the equipment, the instrumentation, that's kind of the CCOM focus, but the fact that you can actually, the ocean gets in the way, or you can turn it around and say you can actually image the ocean. So I'm happy to talk to people, and I'll meet many of you, Jebco and others, mid-October, again, when the leaves fall.
Thank you, John. Kim. Oh, Kim said he couldn't make it. Did he deputize anybody to present for him?
No, right then. So Kim Lowell is a senior research scientist, I forget his actual title with us. Has a really interesting background in forestry biostatistics to start with, but then sunlight and learned all about data science, and now works with us doing analysis, particularly with machine learning, specifically for that intersection you can see there between applied statistics, maths, and computer sciences. The majority of the work that he's been focusing on is looking at how to extract better data from sensors which might otherwise be considered marginal. Like, for example, mapping water depth with lasers from space, and also using satellite imagery to do the same thing and cross-referencing the pairs. Anything to do with applied statistics, machine learning, Kim join.
Thanks. Nathan.
Hi, I'm Nathan Lockstock, Assistant Professor in Ocean and Mechanical Engineering. My teaching duties include ocean waves and tides, so I have many of you in that course, or some of you in that course, may have some of you in the future. I rotate between experimental fluid dynamics and mechanical engineering, and then a special topics, dynamics of air-sea interaction, that I'm teaching this semester, where I try to describe everything that's going on in that animation, growth, development, breaking, dissipation of ocean surface waves, and how all those related processes mediate the flux, the interaction between the atmosphere and the ocean, and the consequences that that has on large scales. NSF funds the work that our group does, although we may have some money from DOE coming in to supplement that and expand the scope of operations we can accomplish. And I'm always looking to interact with new graduate students who want to get involved in this type of work. So if any of this interests you, please don't be afraid to reach out. Thanks.
Tony. Actually, Jen's doing the work.
I'm not Tony Lyons, but I was deputized to present this one slide. He works right next door to me. He is a research professor. I'm here at CCOM, also affiliated with CARE, the Center for Acoustics Research and Education, where he serves as the Associate Director of Education. He's also affiliated with ocean engineering, oceanography, and ran multiple departments. So he takes graduate students through multiple departments. He's mostly interested in using underwater acoustics to sense and image boundary layers, whether that's ice at the surface, internal waves within the water column, or the seafloor itself. And he's mostly sponsored by ONR with some NOAA and BOEM, and he put all those cool pictures out there because we're always looking for people to go to see on our projects. And note that the one on the left is completely covered in ice in the Gulf of Maine in January. So be careful if he asks you if you want to go on a very exciting at-sea experience.
Tracy.
I'm Tracy Menda. I'm an assistant professor in mechanical engineering and ocean engineering. My research kind of focuses on turbulent flow in coastal zones and especially ecological sort of fluid mechanics. So I have projects looking at sort of fluid dynamics in coastal vegetation like seagrass and marsh ecosystems. Most of my work has been experimental, but since I've been here at UNH, I've done a little more field work. And we also look at buoyancy-driven flows and some optical fluid measurement techniques. I teach, I guess relevant to people here, I had been teaching coastal engineering and processes. I'm not teaching it this spring, but someone else is, Matthew Florence, who you will hopefully meet, who's wonderful. I don't know what the plan is, but I may rotate in that class sometimes, and then I teach ocean hydrodynamics in the spring. And then this spring, I'll be teaching a new class, a grad class in environmental flows and eco-hydraulics, kind of, that covers the sort of work that I do. So if you're looking for a grad class, please consider enrolling.
Thank you, Tracy. Giuseppe. Actually, that's also. No, that's Sema.
I'm not Giuseppe, just imagine me a little shorter and with an Italian accent. Giuseppe is now in Denmark, but he's still affiliated with us at CCOM. And he does research on data acquisition, processing, and validation for hydrographic surveys, and looks at seafloor characterization. But he's also the lead developer of Hydrophis. And I would strongly urge for any of the ocean mapping folks to check those tools out. They're quite wonderful. We make heavy use of them in our summer program. And then finally, he is co-developer with myself and Roxy on the EPOM initiative, which is really our effort to start teaching people Python while they're not at CCOM yet.
Not Larry.
Afternoon, I'm your pseudo Larry for the day. So like I said, Larry is often elsewhere, always with us in our hearts. We have a map on the wall up in the break room at CCOM. It's like the Where's Larry map. Pins in it, work out where he is today. Like I said, he's currently in Egypt doing mapping of archaeological sites, but he's also mostly engaged in ocean mapping initiatives in all depths all around the world. Things like, for example, at the top there are work with the DRIX autonomous vehicle. Then the next one to its right there is a sail drone surveyor. It's again an autonomous vehicle, but powered entirely by the wind. It does have an engine and motor, but primarily powered by the wind. On the left there is mid-water mapping. That's actually mapping where we're looking at, next one, left, where we're looking at targeting another vehicle with a surface vehicle. So you have a vehicle on the surface, observing what's happening in the water column, sending then commands to a second vehicle subsurface to go and investigate what's actually going on. So targeted capture of data in the ocean in real time. And a big issue that Larry's been dealing with, along with Andy, for many years is the potential for a US extended continental shelf. And that's the mapping you see there. We've had, I forget now how many mapping missions over the course of about 20 years, and over 3,000 square kilometers new data collected in all areas from the Arctic.
3 million.
So,
3 million.
3 million, what did I say? 3,000? 3 million, sorry. 3 million square kilometers in all regions from the Arctic to the mid-Pacific, and including things like in the Arctic and northwest Greenland on the Odin in 2015, 2019, and we hope 2024 as well.
Thank you, Brian. That sail drone fits under the Golden Gate Bridge. It's just the angle. All right. Oh, and another collage of images.
Well, that's actually our annual reviews. Just to point out, the centre, CCOM, is entirely grant funded, and we do an annual review each year with NOAA typically in July. We have NOAA and all our industrial partners all show up for a big meeting in here. But all of the research that we do is summarised in our annual reports. All of those annual reports you can get on our website as well if you want to find out more about research that's been done in general within the centre.
Thanks, Brian. Jen.
I'm Jen Mixes-Holmes. I am the director of the Center for Acoustics Research and Education. My background is in biology and biological oceanography, and I essentially use underwater acoustics to study biology, ocean processes, and the ecosystem holistically. I have taught 2 courses here since I've been at UNH, and we are always going to see. I work closely with Tony, and you notice I didn't put any scary pictures up there. I put cool pictures of the Jason ROV ops that we went out on. And I do want to put a plug in that we're working with Shoals Marine Lab to put a cabled acoustic array out next year in 2024, and our industry partner Subcom is going to be looking for students to join that 6-day installation and stay on the vessel. And so if you're interested, keep an eye out in the spring because you don't really get that opportunity very often.
This is the wrong place to look for students. They're already here.
This is just a 6-day experience. It's not anything more than that.
And I think you have to commit to the whole 6 days.
Undersea cable engineering, if you're interested in that, you should go.
Just kidding.
I'm not stealing students, I have enough things.
Julie.
Yeah, hey, so I'm Julie Peprocki. I'm an assistant professor in civil and environmental engineering and also over here in ocean engineering. I'm primarily a marine geotech, so I like the soils aspect of everything in the water and on the beach, much like Tom. I've spent a lot of time sitting on the beach, but also not just there, but also on tidal mudflats and salt marshes and all kinds of different coastal environments, primarily looking at how we can incorporate soil properties into more of our coastal resiliency adaptation and that kind of information. So primarily, I teach over in civil engineering half-time, but for a lot of you guys, I do teach design of ocean structures in the spring semesters, so I might see some of you over there this upcoming spring. And then eventually in the next couple of years, I'll be bringing back a marine geotech course, so it'll be all about how to actually look at, measure, and do all kinds of things with the soils underwater. So, yeah.
Thank you. Jere is not here.
Again, on this, okay. Yuri Zhanov is a research professor with CCOM. His background is in solid state and nuclear physics, but for the last sort of 15-ish years, I guess, his focus has been more on dealing with optics in the ocean. So that is, if you take pictures underwater, what does that do to color rendering and how do you correct it? How do you stick together pictures in the ocean to give you a wider context? How do you take design instruments to give you very, very high resolution for very, very small areas to work out better understanding of the microstructure of areas we work in. Primarily sponsored by NOAA through the Center for Coastal Oceanography.
Thank you. May.
Hello, everybody. My name is May Win Thane. I'm a professor in mechanical engineering as well as ocean engineering and director for the Systems Design PhD program. I basically control anything that moves. So if you have something electrical, motorized, that's what I do. So I work on autonomous surface vehicles, uncrewed underwater vehicles. My dream before I die/retire on the same day is to develop an ecosystem of autonomous collaborative vehicles in space, air, ground, surface, and subsurface. So if you're interested in any type of robotics or you need robotics for any applications, please come see me. Thank you.
Thanks, May. And,
I'm speaking for Gabe. Gabe deputized me. So Gabe is actually my next door neighbor. He couldn't be here today, but he's recently dubbed assistant professor over in civil engineering with his appointments as also in CARE, CCOM, and OE. So he has the whole alphabet of all of us affiliated here today. So he just wanted me to mention that he teaches courses related to acoustics and is interested in sediment acoustics. So he does teach the underwater acoustics course. So if you're enrolled with that, that's who your instructor is this semester. And he also teaches another course called Acoustic Essentials in the spring semester as well. So his research interests are in looking at how we can assess blue carbon in a variety of different types of environments. And he also has interests in things such as bioacoustics and fine-grained sediment. So looking at the burrowing sediment or the burrowing creatures that are going into our fine-grained soils like your muds, your silts and clays. So.
all right, and that's me. That means we're getting to the end. My name is Martin Wosnik. I'm a professor in mechanical and ocean engineering and the current director of the Center for Ocean Engineering. and also the director of the Atlantic Marine Energy Center, which we started a couple of years ago. My background is generally fluid dynamics, fluid-based renewable energy, tidal wave, wind energy, flow measurement, turbulence, cavitation, drag reduction, those kind of things. I used to teach fluid mechanics. I've been buying out of that for the last couple of years. I'm not teaching it currently. I do teach a course in renewable energy and other specialized courses on, say, wind energy or turbulent shear flows and such. Most of our research is currently sponsored by the Department of Energy, either directly or indirectly through national labs or companies that we're working with, but also NSF, Hampshire, DOT, and others. You see some examples of the things we're working on the right. You can see it mostly has to do with tidal turbines or wave devices. And either in the lab, some numerical work, or in the field. And a good amount of my group are here. I see Megan, Mason, Chelsea, Katie, Dan, and I believe Parviz is studying for his fluids PhD qualifying exam. And Nicole is currently at Sandia National Labs for an ORISE fellowship. But those are the kind of things we do. And that's it. Finished. So final parting thoughts for the new grad students. Ask your fellow students and your advisors about their favorite spots in the area. There's lots to discover. It's not always obvious where the nice spots are. A lot of them are, you can pretty much go anywhere and find something nice. It's hard to not find something nice. But ask around for good things to do. We'll gladly point you into some towards some interesting spots, whatever your interest may be. And with that, thank you all and welcome again.